Buenos dias. Why not? We can always begin with some Spanish. How was that? Yo soy Pablo? Anyway, okay. I have to stop pretending and speak different languages because unfortunately my skills in the topics of foreign languages are, well, Polish, which is not foreign to me because it's my native language, English, which I think it's pretty good, and some basic German and maybe basic communication in INAV. Anyhow, this is FPV University. I'm Paweł Spychalski, and next hour will be, well, between you and me, only between you and me, because we're gonna talk about some stuff. And the stuff will be mostly connected with FPV and the RC and FPV hobby in general, but also not only, because there is one or two topics, and depending, of course, on how the things will progress during our conversation, we might talk about or not. One of them is, of course, that, well, everybody is an expert on the submarines nowadays. I'm not. However, I know one or two things about software development, programming, and how not to probably build a submarine. Anyhow, and the second one is, have you seen what the fuck is going on with Russia right now? Anyhow. One more time. This is the FPV University. This is the FPV University live stream. And we have two options. Because today we have two agendas. The agenda number one is that I have a series of topics prepared that I would like to talk about for a minute, not very, very extensively, but still. And the second, of course, are your questions. If you have any kind of the questions about RC, FPV, INAV, Betaflight, Pilot, flying, even software development, or I don't know, you're looking for the live advice, I'm here for you. I throw it on Uncle Paweł. Uncle Paweł will tell you everything you want to know. I cannot promise that my advice will be always good advice, but it will be an advice nevertheless. So, as we know the drill, this is how it's gonna work. I see that some people are joining. We have the Roy Bird, Ati Kerkes, Nico, Bobby Bex, Cool Cat. I will not pretend I can speak German that well. My German is mostly about the possibility to communicate in the restaurant and in the Amt. I'm very good at communicating at the Amts. Because there's always a pretty good chance that someone over there will be speaking English as well. Anyhow, Rotorismo, I'm sorry, I'm just mixing your name. And Nico has a question, so we're gonna answer that in just a minute. And of course, we have Peter and Big Boost FPV, my YouTube channel members. By the way, thank you very much to all of my YouTube channel members. Your contribution to this channel is extremely welcome. So, represent, or however, I was never in the gang, or never really lived in the hood or in the ghetto, so I don't know how this is supposed to work, but you know, yeah, that's that's the thing. Argle Bargle, UNLCOS 619. Okay, I think I butchered your name. And Cool Cat says that the Titan submarine designer builder doesn't consult with or employ 50-year-old white men, as I heard. Maybe that's the problem. Pachirehe. Yeah, I kind of fall into this category of the 50-year-old men. White. Man, I'm screwed. I'm so happy I do not live in America. Because if I was a 50-year-old man, especially in the California, I would be really like, Anyhow, that's a completely different story, and we're gonna touch on the topic of the Titan submarine as well, because I have a few comments. Kind of interesting, because to some extent, the Titan submarine case is related to FPV drones. Yeah, interesting, right? How this thing could be related. Let me turn on some extra lights, because I forgot to turn some extra lights. My lighting setup over here is extremely complicated, because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lights, and only one of them is automated. So that kind of sucks. Now that's better. Summer is finally here, so I'm wearing shorts, and today, prost, cheers, na zdrowie. Pij ty pierdolony Beduinie. Okay. If you don't speak Polish, you probably have not understood. And by the way, this joke is fucking racist. Anyhow. We had a question from Nico. And Nico has a question that he unboxed a new Chimera 7 with the O3 and bound it to the goggles too. It only shows a small portion of the OSD, not like it's shown in Betaflight. How could it be solved? Have you chosen the Betaflight 4.3 compatibility mode? Because as I assume that we are talking about INAV or Betaflight. In INAV, you have to select the Betaflight 4.3 compatibility mode, and only then it works. But wait, I have to check something because I'm not 100% sure if we merge this thing to INAV 6.1.1. Probably not. But that's basically you have to do. Big Boost FPV has 0 light because he pays German power. How much do you pay for electricity right now? I know how much I'm paying for the electricity over here. This is an apartment in Poland. Monthly 60-70 euros. That's for the electricity, and we have a electric cooking stove. And I'm starting like lights everywhere. Computers are running 24/7. So 48 cents per kilowatt hour. So okay, that's way more that we are paying over here. Okay, that's way more. That's because right now I think it's around 25% per kilowatt hour. Okay, so yeah. On the other hand, I'm earning in euros, so yeah. Anyhow, Nico, you would have to provide some. You're talking about Betaflight 4.4. Okay, you probably have to activate the HD layout on the Betaflight. I don't think I have the tutorial on this topic, but you do have to activate the HD layout. So Betaflight HD layout, and let's share the right screen. So by default, it's just like smallish, and because I don't have the article of that, you probably can find somewhere here on the Bardwell. Yeah, exactly. I think that would be no, not this one. Betaflight 4.4 high definition OSD. This is the video you're really interested in. Okay, Mark. Okay, you can just follow video from Mark. So that will be the thing you have to activate on the Betaflight to have this thing running. And basically it's just changing some settings on the CLI, and you should be golden. So if you go there, you should no problem find the solution to your problem. Yeah, it's not that easy. Yeah. The 50-year-old man. I'm highly against the woke culture recently. I always thought I'm extremely, like, how to tell you that I'm tolerant and liberal person, but recently I'm less and less because of how we 50-year-old men are portrayed in the media. But I am. Welcome to my live stream. Hey, Janev. Nice to see you around. And we have Canada as well. Hey, Canada. How's Canada? Everything okay in Canada? Nothing wrong in Canada. I heard you had some fires. Oh man, that was a huge thing. And like, okay. We won't be going this thing today probably. So first thing first, I would like to let's talk about this sub, the Titan, and why. Not why. We will not be talking about why the Titan was destroyed, got lost, and the 5 people lost their lives, and because this is not relevant. I will not condemn anyone. I will only bring 1 or 2 interesting issues, to the aspects of the whole situation to the table. Do you know that the Titan was made from carbon fiber? That's a very important part of this. Titan, the inner hull of the Titan, the pressure vessel of the Titan was made of the carbon fiber. And when I heard that it was made from carbon fiber, I started asking myself, okay, but what the hell is going on over there? Because I'm not a structural engineer. I'm not a material engineer, but I worked with carbon long enough to know that the carbon has one or two of the problems that kind of ask a question of why the hell anybody decided that it's a good idea to make the pressure vessel, especially when we are talking about greater pressure outside, from the carbon fiber. And this is why. Does anybody know what exactly the carbon fiber is? Let me even make a poll over here. Start a poll. Do you know what carbon fiber is? That's a very interesting. Because it's not that simple to understand the carbon fiber and, for example, why we are using carbon fiber in the RC, but not only automotive industries. And carbon fiber has many extremely useful. World War III, when I woke up today and heard what's happening in Russia, like, okay, that took them some time. But never mind. Let's go over there with the Titan. What's really like with the carbon fiber? Fiber. This is the most important element of the word fiber. Fiber means that carbon fiber is a fiber. It's a filament. I don't have any fiber with me, but we can, like this piece of the solder is the fiber. It just behaves like a string. You can bend it, you can, it's not even good for bending, for shearing, and rather the only way you can apply any force to the carbon fiber is by pulling. This is the tension force, if I remember correctly. If you pull, then this is extremely resistant material, because comparing size and weight to the amount of force it can resist in terms of pulling, it's just tensile strength. Yes, thank you very much, Rotorismo. Man, it's just incredible. Much better and cheaper actually to any other material out there. Amazing. However, if this is like that, why do we use carbon fiber on our drones? Because if you turn the fiber into the cloth because then you convert one-dimensional structure to the two-dimensional structure, just to one layer of the cloth like wound together to form this characteristic pattern on the carbon fiber, and then you build a cake between like carbon resin, epoxy resin, carbon epoxy resin, and you press it to get rid of all the air bubbles and let it harden. Then you get the material that is no longer very good for pulling, but it also gets very good for the compression. It becomes a composite, just like the steel reinforced concrete is very good for building stuff. Then carbon fiber sheets or molds or whatever becomes very good at withstanding, just converts this extremely well tensile strength into three-dimensional strength. Because when possible, the carbon fibers inside of the carbon sheet takes a lot of force, but when you add the resin between the layers of the carbon fiber, the resin takes the compression forces, because resin is very good at withstanding compression forces. And the fact that you convert the basically two-dimensional structure into three-dimensional structure, you dramatically increase the moment of inertia of the material, and it gets much better with bending forces, shear forces, and everything like that. So we just converted basically one-dimensional material into three-dimensional material, which when built correctly is extremely durable, light, and can withstand anything. And if we think about how the forces are applied on our drones, it works perfectly. This is very long strains of the filaments, so the forces are equally distributed throughout the whole structure. It's light, it's tough, it's fantastic, outstanding, never better. However, there is something like a problem with the carbon fiber. And this is something that /7 and the Cool Cat already mentioned. It's not a fucking good material to build pressure vessels, especially when inside of the pressure vessel you have the smaller pressure than on the outside. Because one, let me take a piece of carbon fiber so we know we have something to discuss. We have this, my Y3 quad. If we assume that we have somewhere support over here and the support over here, and we try to apply pressure like the outside of the pressure is greater than on the inside, then because you have two places of support, the carbon fiber works nicely because the forces can be due to the changing of the shape of the carbon. The forces in this direction will be distributed along the very long strains of carbon fiber inside, and some of this will be applied on the resin, some of this will be applied on the carbon fiber, and in fiber itself, and just distributed nicely, it will be fine. However, when you have the pressure vessel that has no place when it can be supported by anything, turns out that the fiber inside does nothing. All the pressure is taken only and only by the epoxy resin that is reinforcing everything. And by the way, Michael Brooks, thank you very much for becoming the member of this channel. Highly appreciated, man. It's to the people like you and all the other members and my patrons on Patreon. I'm actually doing what I'm doing, because you cannot really live from the ads on the YouTube, especially that the ads on the YouTube, like no, it's a tragedy anyhow. And then we have the situation that the carbon fiber inside of this thing is doing absolutely nothing. Because all the pressure is actually taken by the resin itself. So this is bad. Because you lose the biggest advantage of having carbon fiber when this is fiber because where this very very good resistance for pulling. So that kind of sucks. ENFPV says that they use carbon fiber for scuba tanks and oxygen tanks for firefighters. Yes, but then you have the higher pressure on the inside than on the outside. So some of the forces are still absorbed and distributed by the fiber. Not everything is the resin itself is only to protect everything. Here we have absolutely inverted the relationship. So that's the one thing. And second, this is also that some of the guys over here already mentioned. In time, due to stress, carbon fiber, actually the resin that is part of the carbon fiber sheet of their structure, starts to develop microfractures. And those microfractures are places that will fail. Because if we look at this is the piece of the epoxy resin. This thing, if it cracks, the crack will also always be bigger. If any of those microfractures will appear anywhere due to incoming stresses, and there will be a stress buildup inside of the structure, more stress will be applied on the ends of the cracks, and the cracks will be growing bigger and bigger and bigger. This is why, by the way, your old frames are flying worse than the new frames, because due to the vibrations, there are microfractures in the arms of your drones, and with age, those microfractures are getting bigger, and the arm is losing actually its integrity. So that sucks. So we have two situations. Not the best material, for the design. Not the best conditions to the design because with stress of going down and going up and down and up and down, those microfractures were definitely appearing. But I'm not sure if I will be able to show you something. But there was a picture that I saw today, and it's like Titan interior. If we look at I'm absolutely not sure if I will be able to Titan. It's a submersible, but let's call it submarine. I wonder if we will be able to find this picture. Maybe this one. Yeah, absolutely not. Yeah, not this one. There is a picture that shows that there are two screens. This one. Maybe this one will have it. That there are two screens with Windows. One of them is definitely Windows, by the way. The person who decided that the Windows is the base system to run this kind of the device. This thing is screwed into the pressure vessel. With bolts that long, probably. Maybe, I don't know, maybe this is not there is additional layer of something. Maybe this is not really a pressure vessel, this surface over here. On the other hand, it looks relatively smooth. Maybe there is something on top of it. But if you screw anything to the side of the pressure vessel, by the way, the thickness of the pressure vessel of this thing was 5 centimeters, roughly 2 inches, that much. That much was the pressure vessel. If you even screw a little to this, microfractures, welcome. You are here. I hope that those screws were short and this is not really like over here, the pressure vessel over here, but this is some additional layer or so. But if I screwed anything to this thing, I'm not a mechanical engineer. I'm not a material engineer, but what the fuck? Yeah, 50-year-old white males. We are not inspirational enough. But there is something to it, by the way. At work, I'm also considered a boring guy that only sees problem everywhere. Well, is it my fault that there are problems everywhere and I see them? No, not really. Mr. Batch, 5 centimeter carbon against 380 bars. Not a good deal. Yeah, that's what I maybe the numbers are wrong. I don't know. Maybe it was 5 inches. If 5 inches, then a lot. But if 5 centimeters, I think it was 5 centimeters, by the way. So roughly 2 inches. On the other hand, let's remember that everything was basically on the resin. We don't know what was inside of the resin, and we don't fucking know what happening, but and there is a reason that everything is built from steel and titan and other materials like that, and nobody really like with the same mind is trying to build a carbon fiber submarines. 5 inches? Maybe it was 5 inches. Maybe I don't really remember. Like I said, I'm not really following. If this was 5 inches. Then it's how much is like 4 inches 20. If 5 inches, then that much. So roughly 23 centimeters. So maybe it was really 5 inches. That would kind of make much more sense. Okay, it had to be 5 inches. But even if you screw that much, you're basically making macrofractures all the way, because there's no chance that any fractures were not created over there. On the other hand, I'm really kind of happy that they ended like that, because I fucking would not want to be stranded on the bottom of the sea without much space, water heating for 5 days. before I decide to murder everyone around me to live slightly longer. So no. So instantaneous death and like gone. If anybody asks me, not the worst way to die. Anyhow, but Bob Cross, thank you very much for your super kind $20 donation. Amazing, man. Highly appreciated. And you have a question, and I will answer your question. Of course, man. Due to ELRS and INAV, I have returned home working. Is there a way to test failsafe if I would happen to fly out of range? And also, will I be able to retake control when it gets back into range? I have INAV set to land only on failsafe. Yes. If you want to test the failsafe, the failsafe itself, you cannot really test the full procedure because, well, it's not safe to test the full procedure. But there are some things that will allow you to test if the elements of the failsafe are really working like you expect them to work. First of all, you can check. Let me find an... I have to find a flight controller. Wrong cable. This is mini USB, not USB Type-C. So a different cable after all. I made a mistake and I bought all the cables, USB cables. By the way, good quality. I like those cables. But I bought both mini USB and micro USB in the same color, black. And now it's not that simple to figure out which cable if you're really using. But okay. Right. So let's connect. This icon over here. This icon over here, the one that is currently red, allows you to find out if INAV is able to detect the failsafe. So if you power on your drone, do not arm, power on the radio, go to the configurator, check if this thing turns into gray, so that means that it's not in the failsafe. Power off the radio, just press the button, power off the radio, confirm. If this will go red, that means that INAV detected the failsafe. And by the way, this works all the time with the Crossfire, no problem. So this is one. Then, if you want to test the behavior of INAV during the failsafe, do not turn off the radio during the failsafe because that doesn't make much sense. You can try, but it doesn't really make much sense. Just in the modes, try engaging the failsafe mode. This one. Just have it on the switch, and while being close, like 10 meters from yourself, assign this to a channel, flip the switch to test what INAV will do when failsafe triggers. By the way, switching the switch on is basically exactly the same internally comparing to when actual failsafe happens, because this forces the failsafe condition, just like catching the failsafe on the receiver does. This is exactly the same procedure. And then you will be able to figure out what your craft will do in case of the failsafe. And finally, make sure that this is set to return to home, like this. And that's basically all. And it will work. Has to. You can, of course, also try to get rid of the propellers, arm, walk somewhere, because you have to walk a few meters for the failsafe procedure to fully trigger, turn off the radio, but this thing works. This thing works, and it's so simple to set up. It's really like hard to mess something up. If you really would have to mess something up to make failsafe not really working, because it's one of the most robust functions on INAV. Everybody always tests failsafe, and if failsafe is not working, then all the testers are crying, failsafe is not working. Luckily, failsafe always work with the modern receivers and protocol. Yeah, with the PPM and PWM, it was always finicky, like crappy. S-Bus also was crappy because S-Bus was never really like reporting the state over the channel. So no, it was, but in some implementation it wasn't. I'm super happy that S-Bus is finally dying and like different protocols are used instead. So that's that. And that's all. There's nothing really too much. Test while being close. And by the way, return to home is exactly the same procedure internally as the fail-safe return to home. There is no separate code. If your craft can go to the place of the launch and land using the return to home mode, it will also do exactly the same with the fail-safe on. So that's that. Jekyll is an aerospace engineer, mechanical engineer, took 2 looks at Titan and had 0 surprises about what happened. Yeah, on the other hand, let's go back to the Titan. There is so many things that on the surface, on the normal conditions, are just like, who cares? Something happened, we will survive. If anything like that happens 4 kilometers below the water with those super high pressures, well, even the simplest thing becomes immediately a huge problem. But think about like that. From time to time, electronics releases the magic smoke and dies. Okay, I suppose they had some kind of the redundancy. I hope they had some kind of the redundancy over there. It's normal. It's normal. Like there's a reason that 50-year-old white males are always thinking in terms of the redundancy because you have redundant systems. Okay, let's say that they had redundancy and that was not the problem. But still, something released the magic smoke, made poof, and died. Another secondary system took over and we have resumed the operation. But what about the smoke? This is the pressure vessel. You cannot really open the windows and let the fresh air in. Even if you have small fire and you are able to extinguish the fire, what do you do with the smoke and the residual of that fire? Does your air filtering system is good enough? Can your whatever the carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide system really take out all that from the atmosphere? What's the capacity of your filtering system? Simple thing. And probably the oxygen levels in that thing were higher, and you have another fire because something ignited. So saying that you do not hire 50-year-old white males because they think too much about the safety, you're asking yourself for some kind of the problems. And unfortunately, this problem cost 5 people. On the other hand, that's not probably the biggest catastrophe ever that was created because of some people never thought about safety. There's an interesting story I might tell you in a moment. Argle Bargle, thank you very much for 10 Canadian dollars donation. And you have a question. Of course, I will answer your question. I am obligated to answer your question now. Argle says, I do-it-yourself stuff when I can, and that's the fun of this hobby. How critical is the collector length when making a 915 MHz Immortal T dipole? Sometimes I mess up the shielding cut. Not that important as you might think. As long as you keep yourself somewhere close to the half wavelength. I don't remember what's the wavelength of the 900 MHz now. Something like 4 inches, 16 centimeters, I think 15 centimeters, so roughly for 6 inches. As long as it will be 10% inside the actual length, minus 90% for the propagation factor, the velocity factor of this, you will be fine. This is not really that much of the critical, but when doing the computation, always remember to check the velocity factor of the coax cable, because you have to then use the velocity factor in the computation of the ideal length of the feed line. Velocity factor. Like, what's the velocity factor? What's the specification of the RG178? So assuming that you are making something from the RG178 coax, that's just an example. Then the velocity of propagation, velocity factor is 70%. So assuming that you compute the ideal wavelength, half a wavelength of the 915 megahertz, then you have to add the 70% of the velocity factor. What's, by the way, the wavelength? What's the wavelength of my 100 megahertz? So it's 33 centimeters. So we have, let's go with centimeters, normal units. 33 centimeters divided by 2 because we want to have the half wavelength for the feed line. And now times 0.7, so we are roughly at 11.55. So as long as your feed line will be somewhere between, I don't know, 11 and 12 centimeters, you will not notice any practical difference on the antenna. Yes, you might be able to measure that with the VNA, because you make one slightly longer antenna and you measure both. You will see the difference in the impedance of the antenna, but the difference will not be really that huge. And overall, the rejection of the signal will not be critical. So, so it's fine. Morton Upshot, we don't know for what length this craft was designed for. That's the problem, because it had no certification. So any depth is like a critical depth if you have no certification for this thing. So I think the front window was for something like 1,000 meters. I think I'm not really like 100% sure on that, but we cannot say that this thing has the design depth or was tested for anything because it was not certified by independent party. So who the fuck knows what this thing was supposed to withstand? /7, oh, the sound strikebacks. The fact that this thing had no way of opening from the inside, I personally treat it as the safety feature, and it's actually good for the design. It's fine that you cannot open this thing from the outside, because this thing was never really like designed to be independently operational. This is not a submarine. This is a submersible. The difference is that submersible is not designed to operate autonomously. It needs a support craft. So even if they're made the escape, let's say that they were able to go up, then there is a assist craft that is supposed to pick them up and open. So this is fine. This is fine. That people get crazy, and I don't want to be, especially with someone with like who decided at one point that he has he, she, whatever, they, them, would want to open this thing and like start turning the no. That's fine. That's fine. Diversity. Yeah. So exactly /7. That's exactly what the glass. I think it was acryl, not really a glass, was certified to half of the length. So sketchy business. Sketchy business. Okay, but enough of the sub. Let's not bring the sub back, because this is not why we are here. Although people seems to like it. Ian, on the questions that I gathered on the community page and also on my Patreon, I will be recording a separate video on that. It was a while since I recorded the last Q&A. I'm still in the process of gathering of the questions and like moderating of which questions I think I should answer, because I will not answer probably to all of them. And over the course of the next some time, I will record a video and publish a separate video, probably from the list I have, like, I don't know how many questions. Not WhatsApp. I don't want to start WhatsApp. I want to start Word. By the way, I have to break. I'm building a new PC. Don't tell my wife. It will be the 5th fastest PC I can build. Not the first, but the 5th fastest. So I'm waiting for the CPU to arrive next week, and then, yeah, baby. Anyhow. But where were we? On the question. So yeah, I have already gathered some questions here and there, as you can see, like 3 pages, some moderation, some research, and then it will take time, by the way, because recently I was able to record quite a lot of videos that are ready to be published or were published for my patrons and YouTube channel members. I right now with the 4, like this one is good. This one is good. You should get early access. This one is amazing. You should get early access. This one is super fantastic. You should get an early access. And this one is also cool. You should get an early access. And how to get an early access? Patreon or YouTube channel member. Yes, I'm a shield today. Anyhow, so that. KV FPV. Just wondering if you are running a mission, can you cancel it and return to normal flying? Of course, just disable the mission mode, mission switch. Most probably you will have this on the switch, so if you enable, then mission is proceeding. If you turn this thing off, then the mission is stopped. And the flight mode that you had previously enabled is automatically selected. So no problem. You do not have to finish the mission when you enable the mission. I bought a new jean from Lidl. And you know what? I like it. Irish jean. Anyhow. Engineer D, let's move to a less controversial topic like unconventional propellers. Toroidal? Meh. 3D printed toroidal props suck. I have a good 3D printer, well-calibrated 3D printer. I was not able to print anything that I consider worthy of usage propeller. I tried for a few times with different filaments, different settings, and every single time the 3D printed propeller was just not good enough for me to really use it. So nah. And yeah, I'm not saying that you cannot build anything better than the props we are using, like this kind of the shape. But is it really that much better? ENF went out 10 miles on walk snail. Take that, DJI. No, DJI cannot take that. And I saw that you asked this question. It was you? I think it was you. I have this written down. Why? Because DJI designed it like that. Anyhow, there is Rotorismo. You're still here because, like I promised and like we discussed last week, we were talking about the designs of the 2-layer frames, and back then Rotorismo. Man, I always Rotorismo. You have a hard nickname for me to remember. The design like that. Here you see this thing with the plywood. It looks like plywood, but he went further. And he currently has something like that design. And you know what? This thing actually looks kind of interesting. I would most probably make the middle section slightly more narrow, not that wide, and I would get rid of some of those cuts over here. From the very simple reason that this most probably only brings some extra stress to the design. Or if you did something like that, just cut this thing like that, because it doesn't make sense to have this piece of the carbon at all. Makes no purpose. Cut it, it will be lighter with exactly the same strength and maybe even some more strength. That's an interesting thing, and I'm seriously considering building something similar, but most probably not with the 5-inch range, but something closer to 3-inch range, because I will be retiring this design. My Y4, I still have to record some materials and record video on this thing, but then it was an experiment and it's time to end the experiment. And I basically have the full stack that I can just plug on the different frames, so most probably it will be, there's a pretty good chance it will be something like that, which looks nicely. A real ACC Phoenix. So that's that. Interesting for sure. This is not something that you see a lot, because let's see, all of the frames that we are using right now, all of them look basically the same. This is not like we had some interesting designs like we had like 8 years ago. So that's that. Okay, one more topic I wanted to cover. Last week or 2 weeks ago, no, I think last week, the stress, I would say that the stress on those standoffs is nothing like meh. It will be fine. Let's not hire 50-year-old men white guys. Okay, and let's add additional standoff here and there. Oh. Anyhow, let's go back to the... it will be fine. Let's go back to the thing I want to talk about. I think that on one of the Bardwell streams, there was an issue. There was a drama about the company called MEPSKING. And the fact that someone betrayed the brand, betrayed the brand, and they were giving some crazy conditions to get some hardware for testing and reviews, and you were obligated to say only good things, and your material had to be officially approved, and so on and so on and so on. And of course the site is not working now. I wonder why. Anyhow, there's of course a huge drama. There was a huge drama on the topic, but why? What's really going on? This is not blah blah blah. Someone betrayed someone and is acting against, and there is some content, and the company is sketchy. I was approached by the company of MEPSKING several times over the last few months. I think they started reaching to me in something like January, then somewhere around April, May, then one more time in June. I don't remember, but this was, maybe this view is okay. But they were really contacting me a few times, saying, oh, we have those amazing motors and we would like you to make a review because we love your channel so much. But then I replied something, and then the conversation was rolling back to the starting point. But okay, what's the URL of your channel? What? If you're contacting me and saying that they have this amazing channel and they would like me to test their motors, and they asking me what's the URL of my channel, nah. So the conversation never really like went besides the fact, nah, I'm not interested. I will not be doing that. Z bloga Czech Republic. I love Czech Republic. Man, I love Czech Republic. That's one of the best places for me to go for a vacation. What's the part? Karkonosze. Krkonosze. I think that's you pronounce it or not. So going back to the MEPSKING. So I basically cancelled my conversation with the company called MEPSKING, knowing that this cooperation would not be something that I'm really interested in, and I don't want to go that road because I'm in this very comfortable position that I'm not doing things I don't want to be doing. So if somebody like, oh, we would like you to like do thing, and I'm like, nah, then I'm nah, because to be honest, for me, making a review of something is not profitable. And that's the sad truth. If I'm offered something to make a review of, review or the promotional material, there's a difference between the review and the promotional materials. And by the way, I'm not accepting the promotional materials at the moment. Never, actually. I really have to like think that, okay, this is something, okay, this might make sense. Because if I would like to charge for like, guess how much time it takes to make a good 10 minutes video about a product. Assuming that you will go slightly above just, I don't know, like, oh, this is fantastic, outstanding, let's connect to this, no editing and anything like that. This is a few hours of work. Recording of the raw material is maybe like fast, because let's say that half an hour, 10 minutes, half an hour if you have a good flow. If not, then I have examples of the videos that I have raw materials of 1 hour, and finally it's like 6 minutes because I was making the mistakes, I had to retake, or something happened, or not during the editing. I was like, nah, that sucks, I have to reshoot it. So that's that. So an hour to, let's say that an hour to make the raw material. Then there's also, you have to take some b-roll, set up everything up, and then you have to edit this. Editing takes a shitload of time, because this is like 5-6 hours, maybe even of editing, if you want to make this like fancy choco and jazzy. So if you are good and you do not really care that much of the quality, you can record the video in, let's say, 4 hours. Short video in 4 hours. But then you also have to, you have to spend time on this, not on something else, and so on and so on and so on and so on. And going into the final aspect of the whole thing, it cost me money. And YouTube ads will never like cover the cost of the money. So at the end, I'm like stuck with like something that, what the fuck am I going to do? I'm gonna sell it, use it, whatever. And usually when I'm sent something, I still have to cover the VAT during the import tax. So at the end, I'm usually below. I'm not getting any profit from recording a review. This is why I always reject it. And but let me go back to the topic, because I diverged slightly. I don't think that both parties in this drama are on the correct place. I mean, from my brief contact with the company MEPSKING, they are not really a very professional, they do not have very professional approach. And considering the size of the hobby and everything connected with it, they are just like, this won't work. On the other hand, if really this guy that recorded a video and was given the contract and was probably paid, because apparently maybe it was the case, then man, he broke the rules of the contract. Sorry, but we are all adults, right? We should take responsibility for the things that we are signing or agreeing, not even signing, agreeing to. If you agreed to something, then do it. Like that's so simple. Yeah. Anyhow, I got like set again. And by the way, what's the deal with the remote ID again? Somebody really hoped that there will be no remote ID, but nah. I don't think that remote ID will be that big of a deal. And you know why? Because you do not have to have the remote ID. There is no secret drone police. Nobody will be chasing you. There is not enough money in the FAA to chase drone pilots. Just fly somewhere nobody will see you and nobody will give a crap. I hope that was understandable. So that's that. Like in the European Union, in Poland for the last 2 years, we have to report that we are flying. There's an application, we have to like click that we are here for 30 hours, we have to register, anything like that. I don't know of a single case when somebody was really like controlled. Somebody checked anything. It's not happening. I know one story of a guy that like the police car joined in. Oh, we saw you were flying. Yeah, cool, fantastic. We have our drone to test and we saw you were flying. I hope it's okay. And they took like a huge matriz. So no, just do not do anything stupid and you will be fine. Shh, there is no secret drone police. Of course, I'm not saying that you should break the law, but there is no secret drone police. And nobody has resources to control everything. Do you have any idea how many people are driving without a driving license? Do you know how many people are driving without the certification of their cars? Do you know how many people are driving and drinking? And they are almost never caught. So if anybody thinks that somebody will be chasing drone pilots in the middle of the meadow, good luck with that approach. Anyhow, on the other hand, the whole remote ID regulation is the example of the stupid law, because this is the law you cannot enforce. There is no practical way of enforcing the remote ID, because there is not enough of the services to control everything and everywhere. This is just fucking impossible to enforce. I can make a law, if I would be a king of a country, I can make a law that you cannot hold the knife with your right hand. You have to use knife with the left hand, because I'm stupid. Let's say like that. And from the very beginning, this is a stupid law. This is the law I'm not able to enforce. This is a dead law from start, because everyone will look at it. Screw it. You're not here. Your soldiers are not looking at me eating. You don't know in which hand I'm holding my knife, so fuck off. And this is exactly this is exactly the situation with the remote ID. Yes, it applies to the commercial operations. It applies to the flying in the visible places, but if you just want to fly a hobby drone or airplane somewhere when there's no one around, this is a dead law. Nobody will ever control you, because this is just impossible to do. Tugedal, thank you very much for these 50 Norwegian coronas. One day I will want to go to Norway. I want to visit some fjords. Absolutely, I would like to. Not this year, not next year. I'm building this bloody house, starting to build this bloody house. I hope next week maybe the construction company will start digging the foundations. So yeah, anyhow, thank you very much for your super kind donation. Highly appreciated. That's one of the reasons I'm still doing this. And the other reason is that I think I like it. I think I do like doing this thing. It gives me a lot of pleasure. On the other hand, I also have a few other channels that would be a better channels, for example, for me to monetize. Because I have a channel about programming, for example, and I'm bloody good software developer. Let me make a poll, because this... Do you... but I was like making videos about programming, some programming tutorials, and actually I had very good results on that, because comparing my effort I was putting into those videos to the response I got in terms of the views, I was like, whoa, this is way better than me doing videos on drones. But I'm not really, but it doesn't give me that much of the fun, so I think I have not published anything on that channel this year. I also have the channel about the video editing and the video creation. This gives me fun, but like, the results are not that great. So one more time, me doing videos on drones. And somehow I got to this 40,000 subscribers. I don't know how this happened. Well, I know how this happened. This was hard work. So, anyhow, Michael Brooks, new INAV build, bad waypoint and return to hole performance, toilet bowling and poor alt hold, but it usually doesn't oscillate out of control. Watched your videos about black box, ACC Mac look good, logging rate too low. No, toilet bowling is always connected with the magnetometer. Always. There is no excuse. If you have toilet bowling, this is because of the magnetometer and how it's placed or how it's calibrated. So one more time, check if the orientation of the magnetometer is correct. Calibrate the magnetometer far from any sources of magnetic fields. Ensure that the magnetometer GPS is at least 5 centimeters, 2 inches away from motors, wires, batteries, and so on and so on and so on. So there is nothing in the practical way that can interact with the magnetometer itself. That much. 2-3 inches from motors, wires, and you should be fine. And finally, some magnetometers are just damaged. This I have like 1 or 2 GPS units with marked dead, because the magnetometer was just damaged. It was not giving the correct readouts, and as a result, no matter what I ever did with this drone, it was not able to hold the position because of the toilet bowling, exactly of this reason. And the altitude hold, check if the barometer is covered with foam, open cell foam, because if you have any kind of the air gust, and this is especially visible on tight builds, when you have propellers relatively low to the flight stack, it can just interact, and Ian in the second, it can just interact with the barometer, and this is why you have poor altitude hold. Plus, maybe you have too much of the vibrations coming from the motors. But at the end, the only way to know is to look at the black box log, and logging at the 1 kilohertz rate is more than enough to find all this kind of the... Comment from CoolCat. The implementation of RFI remote ID is actually the FAA asking permission to monetize, spy on, and regulate our hobby. They are weak and we are strong. The message to FAA, CAA should be get fucked. Yeah, to some extent. On the monetization, I'm not sure how they're gonna monetize that, how this thing will work out. But this is doomed. This is doomed. This will not work. Yes, the DJI will, of course, comply, and they will provide the remote ID. But in our case, who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? I will not be ranting about 3D printing planes today, because there is nothing to rant about. On the topic of 3D printing, I started playing with nylon again because I finally managed to have an I finally managed not to clog the extruder with nylon. I have the Prusa E3. It's over there, and when I started to try to print with the nylon like 2 years ago, it was impossible to achieve. In the beginning I thought it was because I was using too cheap of the nylon and stuff like that. Because what was happening, it was printing fine for like, I don't know, first 5 minutes. And then immediately the the gear that pulls the filament down was skipping. And it was clogging, and as the result, I was not able to finish the print. I had to like pull everything out, clean everything, start again. And by the way, Michael Brooks, thank you very much for your super kind 10 British pound donation. Amazing. I have amazing audience. Thank you very much, guys. It's like, wow. Just Karen. Assuming that there is Karen around. Is there a Karen around? I fly in places when there are no Karens because there is no one besides me usually. And majority of the people like don't really care. As long as you do not fly too close to them, nobody fucking cares. Honestly. If you do not fly too close to people, they will not care. One person cared, and I was like, oh, you're flying over my property. After saying like, no, I'm not flying over your property. I'm flying 150 meters away from property. My flight is reported. I'm doing everything legal. You can call the cops. Please do. She was like, and stopped. So that's that. Anyhow, don't fly around currents. No, don't fly around currents. I'm in this comfortable position that I live in the small village outside of the biggest city around. I have like, I don't know, 15 kilometers to the center of the city, and this is a village. When I moved in over here, it was just a village. Nothing really. Like right now, it's the middle class extravaganza village. Let's call it like that. I can even show you, because why not? I think it's a nice. Kind of nice. So here's Poland, here's Germany, here's Berlin. I'm saying Berlin like a Berliner. Anyhow, here's the British, not the British, Polish and German border, and I live over here. So from here to the center to Szczecin, I have like exactly 12 kilometers in the straight lines, and I have like 2.5 kilometers to the German border. And in the radius of like, I don't want to lie, 100 kilometers in this west direction, this is absolutely the biggest city. Everything over here on the Polish side is only forests, small villages, and more forest, and this Szczecin Lagoon, which is, I think, the second biggest or the third biggest lagoon in Europe. It's huge. It's not a half, like in German says. It's a lagoon. I live near the lagoon, and like there, and even like here on the German side is absolutely nothing. There are only villages, and like the biggest city around it's Prenzlau, and there's nothing in Prenzlau besides a swimming pool. So that's that. So I'm in this lucky situation that if I want to fly, I can just almost find a random spot and try flying. Besides this area, because this is a no-flight zone, because there is a huge chemical plant over here, and they are making this thing huger. They will be building a polypropylene. They are building a polypropylene factory over here, and there is already a chemical plant, which is actually actively monitored. There is a security, everything. There is a perimeter. And I know that some people try to fly over this no-fly zone over here, and there were immediately people showing up. What are you doing over here? Please get lost. So nobody flies over here, but everybody knows that you do not fly over here because this is actual no-flight zone. And I would not be actually surprised if they had some kind anti-drone setup over here. Because if this thing explodes, oh man, it's like, it's huge. So that's that. And this is also a wonderful area for cycling. I started cycling again. My plan tomorrow is go from here to the Nowe Warpno, new Warp. I don't know how, I remember how it's called. Neuwarp, this is in German. This is like, I don't know, less than 40 kilometers one-way trip. I intend tomorrow at 8 a.m. Go there through here, fantastic ride, eat something, and then maybe go straight back, or maybe with the slightly longer road. But like that would be almost 100. I don't know if I'm ready for 100 this week. But anyhow, so that's that. Spartan, yeah, the Lidl Glider is cool. No, the Lidl Glider is indeed extremely quiet airplane. And by the way, the dual motor tractors in general are much more quiet than the flying wing pushers. Pushers are loud, extremely loud. Both the Lidl Glider and the you can see over there is the Atomercy swordfish. They are super quiet, like nobody hears them. The problem with the Lidl Glider is that the batteries I'm using are not really, and the propellers I'm using are not really designed for this kind of the usage. So the batteries are kinda eaten too fast because it's like 3 to 4 minutes flight time, and the batteries are dead. So it's not really the most efficient design ever. But yeah, it's super quiet. Like you throw it, like nobody sees everything, nobody hears anything. Fantastic thing. /7 been over here on the motorcycle trip. Nice, you should have called. We can, if you ever decide to be here again, you know, there are ways to contact me. Yeah, those cyclists and those drone pilots. I know. I once, like, I don't know, that was like 7 years ago. I had a spot that was super close to the German border, and it's like a meadow with a single oak. And there close by was the cycle lane. Walking cycle lane, you know, like nice here. And I was just flying, doing the flippity floppy, and there was a pair of, not Karen, but Grażyna and Janusz. If you speak Polish, you know what I mean. They were cycling, and they heard it, and he was like, "Oh, look, he's flying the drone," and she was like, "Oh, they should prohibit that," and they just drove away. But okay, it was kind of close to the cycling road. Well, okay. But battery type, that's 4S 500 milliamp hours. So for the 3 inches, like for this kind of the drone. So that's really like, and there is not really that much place in the Lidl Glider to fit something bigger. Yeah, you can, but you know, it's always like complicated. Oh, Mark will be visiting me? Really? Really? I have to talk to Mark. I was not talking to Mark for quite some time now. Maybe there's something I don't know. Anyhow, guys, like I mentioned once or twice, my resolution for this year to actually stream regularly every week, at least for the summer. But it will be shorter streams, not like the 2 hours like we had before. So we are already 1 hour 15 minutes into the stream. I think I will get myself another round of this kind of good gin and tonic, I have to say. Gin from Lidl is actually quite okay. It's the something Barrows, Irish gin, whatever. Probably it was never really like close to Ireland, but whatever. Not the cheapest, not the most expensive ever. Yeah, we will, but plans, I would not call it plans. When I will in Berlin, maybe there, so not really like anything solid. And maybe I should talk to Mark. I was thinking about going to Meppen. That looks like a fun place, but man, it's far. I don't want to drive all day to Meppen. And this year I have no money for anything. I'm building this bloody house. Anyhow, thank you very much. This was the FPV University live stream. I'm Paweł. I had some alcohol. This is the pato stream because I'm talking and drinking, but I'm not hitting anyone, so that's good. I think we had a pretty interesting stream today. We pretended that we are subnautical engineers. Shared some interesting topics. We proved that there is no drone police because according to the poll, 79% of you believes that there is no secret drone police, and I'm pretty sure the remaining 21% selected yes as a joke. Kudos for you. I appreciate a good sense of humor. So thank you very much. If nothing will actually go wrong, then the next stream will be next week, because 1 hour is just fine, and I will be next week. What's next week? So this is the 1st of July. 1st of July, I have nothing there. There is still, I have to go to the swimming pool with my daughter, but this is the last one. Yeah, so most probably we're gonna stream in exactly next week at the 7 p.m. And we're gonna stream about, I have absolutely no bloody idea what yet. So, thank you very much for watching, and like always, happy flying.